Happy Friday, everyone. It is 10 a.m. Central Time here in New Orleans. I'm meteorologist Alexa Trischler. Thank you so much for joining us on Tropical Weather Impact on your Friday, August 22nd. It has finally made it. We have finally made it to the end of the week. It is finally Friday. Hopefully you have a great weekend planned. We'll start our broadcast here, taking a live look over the French Quarter here in New Orleans. It's a quiet start to our day. If locally here at home, we'll have some rain and storms this afternoon, but we'll talk more about the tropics first. We'll get into what's happening with Hurricane Erin, still a hurricane as of this morning. This is the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. As of 10 a.m. Central Time, Hurricane Erin still a Category 1 with winds at 90 miles per hour, gusting to 115 miles per hour. The size of Erin still continues to expand and grow as of today. We know that yesterday and still today, the mid-Atlantic through New England and parts of the Carolinas saw some pretty bad coastal flooding. Also bad rip currents, really rough beach conditions, huge waves, huge swells, and there is still going to be some coastal flooding for parts of the mid-Atlantic and New England coasts through the rest of today. And it looks like we'll continue to see rough seas and rip currents for them through the rest of today. And really the next couple of days, there will be some rip currents. But conditions will be improving as Erin pulls away. So the coastal flooding will start to ease going into this weekend. But still some rough weather for Atlantic Canada, some gusty winds and rough seas for them as well. Luckily, no direct impacts, but the indirect impacts were certainly enough for our coastal East Coast, our coastal spots along the East Coast over the last 24 hours or so. But Hurricane Erin is still going to continue to pull away from the U.S. and weaken as it does, eventually moving out into the open Atlantic. So we'll still talk about it in the coming days, but it is going to continue to move farther and farther away from the U.S. and those impacts will lessen going into the weekend when it comes to the beach hazards, things like that. So that's Hurricane Erin. That's not the only spot to watch out in the Atlantic Ocean. The tropics are busy, which is what you would expect for this time of the year. This is the peak of hurricane season going into the next couple of weeks. So we've got a couple spots to watch, 3 spots. One has a low chance of development in the central Atlantic, and that's just going to fizzle out in the open ocean. So don't have to worry about that spot. But then there's another area, a tropical wave just north of the Caribbean islands that has a high chance of tropical development, and that will likely become our next named storm in the next few days. But it's going to take a similar path to Erin where it stays out in the open Atlantic. Another spot to watch out in the central Atlantic does have a medium shot at development. So a medium chance, we'll call it between 40 to 60% chance of development as it drifts westward towards the islands in the coming days. So we'll watch that in the long term, but it looks like it'll be kind of struggling to develop the next few days, some dry air out there. So we'll watch that, but over the next week, the Gulf Coast does not have to worry about any tropical concerns. There's nothing coming to the Gulf Coast over the next week. So for the rest of August, nothing happening, nothing to worry about along the Gulf Coast. But I did want to show you the spaghetti models with these 2 Invest. So Invest 99 and Invest 90. So obviously Erin, like we've been mentioning, still a Cat 1 moving away from the U.S. But then here is Invest 90. And it's going to take that similar path where it drifts to the north and eventually more towards the northeast later in its life cycle. So it will stay out in the open ocean. So that's great news with that. Bermuda, of course, will have to watch it as it will be coming close by. So Bermuda has to watch what that will do, likely our next named storm in the next few days. Now, Invest 99 is the other spot we're watching in the central Atlantic that's going to go west towards the Caribbean islands this upcoming work week, but it might struggle to develop. I want to watch it now with moisture, kind of the moisture content, to see what I've been talking about, how it's going to struggle a bit. So that one spot, that one Invest that's going to be headed west towards the islands, you see that the blob of moisture associated with it is going to stay pretty disorganized, plenty of dry air. So nothing really looking to organize all too much from that one area of investigation. But we'll see how it goes as it continues to push west into closer to Central America going into mid to late week. So this is already Wednesday, August 27th. A lot of moisture in the Caribbean Sea directed westward towards Central America. We'll watch it in the long term, but low level concern with that. Like I also mentioned, that one spot that has a high chance of development is going to continue to move north and take the similar path to Erin. So yes, there are a lot of things to watch out in the tropics. There's really nothing to worry about right now. So no tropical concerns for the Gulf Coast or the continental United States over the next week for the rest of the month of August. So that's fantastic news. We'll even take it forward in time a little bit more. This is next Friday, 1 week from now. that same moisture I was mentioning in the Caribbean still continuing to drift west towards Central America as a disorganized area of showers. Really, the big talking point across the country coming up is not so much the tropics, which is fantastic news, not complaining about that. It's this cold front that's going to be moving in across the eastern seaboard this week. So actual first taste of fall coming up this week as this front pushes in. The Great Lakes, the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, New England, there will be a chill in the air a couple days this week, especially in the mornings, where we'll start our mornings in the 40s and 50s for parts of the Great Lakes and Midwest. So the cool air stays to the north. The front doesn't really make it all the way to the Gulf Coast. We'll see some benefits, though. Some drier air will move in as a result of this front going into later this weekend across the Gulf Coast, but no big cool downs in store. However, if you want some chill to your air, if you want some chillier air and cooler weather, you're going to have to head up to the north. Definitely feeling that chill in the air across the Midwest and even the upper Mississippi Valley, the Ohio Valley, even parts of the South will see that cooler air into the Mid-Atlantic and into New England. Temperatures will be trending colder than average for a few days coming up for the new work week. If you look farther down, though, to the south along the Gulf Coast, no big changes, but we'll take anything along the Gulf Coast this time of the year. Even though it's going to be hot, the front will bring us some drier air. And that drier air will push in by Sunday and Monday. So actually seeing some relief from the heat across the deep south and the Gulf Coast later this weekend. Sunday and Monday, the dry air works in behind the front. It doesn't last very long because we'll see another push of moisture out ahead of potentially another front later next week. Kind of a second batch of dry air may try to push into the deep south, but this time of the year, it's hard for those the moisture content to drop. It's harder for the dry air to make it all the way to the Gulf Coast. So we'll have to wait and see if it can make it for the Gulf Coast later next week. But I know for a fact it looks like that dry air will at least work in for a couple days on Sunday and Monday. So here's your 7-day forecast for the New Orleans area. I'll leave you with this. Today and tomorrow we'll have some scattered showers and storms, maybe some heavy rain in a few spots today and tomorrow, and it will be hot and muggy. But like I mentioned, New Orleans area, southeast Louisiana and South Mississippi and all of the Gulf Coast will see that first push of the front by Sunday and Monday, bringing us some drier, less humid air Sunday and Monday. It's still going to be hot with temperatures in the 90s, and we'll see some less rain, lower rain chances as a result of the drier air. Then next week, moisture returns a bit midweek, some spotty storms and heat and humidity back in the low 90s. And then later in the week, we'll have to possibly wait for round 2 of that drier air as kind of a secondary front pushes in. So we'll watch and wait and see, but enjoy Sunday and Monday when that lower humidity settles in for a couple days. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back live on the WWL Louisiana News at noon.